All right. Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Real Stories of Hurting Moms. My name is Cathy Taylor, and I'm so happy to be here tonight. And I have my friend Sharon with me tonight. So Sharon's in Ohio. And once again, technology is something that just like amazes me because we can do that and be sitting here and it's 6 o'clock my time. And is it 9 o'clock your time, Sharon?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, it's late. Bedtime. So just that she yeah, it's just such a great thing. I'm excited about it. Before we get started, a couple things I want to talk to you about, and then I really want to get to Sharon sharing her story and some of the hope that she has. First of all, tell me where you're watching from. We love to see where you're watching from, what state, what city, what country. Love to see that. And then also let me know, is this your first time? Is it the first time to watch, or have you been watching for a long time? Are you a long time viewer or is it your first time? So hi, Sandra. It's good to have you here tonight. And can you see comments at all, Sharon?
I see something off to the side, but
I'm afraid to touch it.
not getting comments.
So yeah. So anyway, but do that. Let us know where you are. Let us know if this is your first time to watch us or to watch Real Stories of Hurting Moms. And then couple things you're going to hear a lot tonight, or some. Sharon's one of our group leaders. She's actually leading a group right now, and has led other ones. And so she's going to be sharing a little bit about that. If you've been in a Hurting Moms group, if you've been in a Breaking Free group, would you just describe in one word, or maybe more if you need to, just your experience? What was your experience in that group? We so want to encourage moms to get involved in these support groups, and you'll hear from Sharon about it. It's such an amazing opportunity that we have for healing, to come together, to be in community. And so there is a link above the video that there will be when this is over. I have to put it on there, but there was a link that you'll be able to click on where you can go to join a group. So I really want to encourage you with that. So I want to get right to Sharon and her story. We got a chance to meet a little bit the other day and share. She was sharing some with me. Like I said, she's a group leader. But Sharon has been through the experience that we all fear the most. I told her, you're living every hurting mom's worst nightmare, really. And Sharon, why don't you tell us a little bit about what's gone on in your life and where you are today? Just share with these moms.
Well, I started out, I found out when my son was about, I would say, 22 or so, that he had been struggling for a lot of years with drugs and with alcohol. And we had sent him to rehabs, one actually out in California, to where he had gone to a church out there, and he got involved in Celebrate Recovery. And so I had heard about it, and I got started in Celebrate Recovery myself and became a leader in that. And but the struggle didn't end for him. He was like 3 years, just about 3 years clean, and he ended up relapsing. And toward the end, it was getting kind of bad again, to the point where we had to ask him to leave our home because he was getting violent, and he had overdosed like 3 times in the house. And I had found him and told my husband, I says, as much as I love him, I cannot take the thought of possibly not being able to bring him back. I am an STNA by trade, which is a fancy word for nursing assistant. And it's like you're trained to do everything by the book, and you act first and you think about things later. Well, the last time that he overdosed, it was so bad. I told my husband, I says, all my training just went out the window. I was very emotional. It was very hard for me. So we had to make that decision because he was put in jail again. And we told him that we loved him, but we couldn't have him live in our home. And he understood. He wasn't happy about it, but he understood. And he ended up staying with a friend. And on November 17th in the morning, we got that dreaded knock on the door where two police officers showed up. And my husband woke me and told me that they were there and they wanted to talk to us. And I just knew at that moment that he was gone. And it's difficult, but I'm getting through. I joined Hurting Moms approximately, I would say, 8 months before he passed. And I got a lot of tools and support in that group. And then I decided from there that I wanted to be a leader. And I'm still here being a leader, and I love every minute of it.
I remember you were scheduled when he passed. You were already scheduled to start another group. It was kind of
January, yeah.
Right. And so I was ready to say, well, you better wait. And you were like, no, I want to do it. I feel like I'm called to do this. And one of the things I want you to know, you probably can't see the comments, but there's a number of people talking about losing their kids. And she will be able to answer and respond to your comments when we're done. She'll go on and be able to answer and talk to you a little bit about that. But I remember you just said, no, I want to do it. And you've told me several times that Evan, your son, would want you to continue doing this, how much he hated being an addict. Can you talk about that?
We had many talks when we would go outside. We would sit in, when he was clean and sober, it was really easy to talk to him. And we would get in-depth talks, and he would look at me and he would say, he hated being an addict with every fiber of his being. And he would look at me and say, nobody wants to be an addict. It's just something that happens. And once you start, especially with heroin, it changes your body, it changes your mindset, it changes everything about you. And he hated it. And he always told me he liked the fact that I worked with other people, women, and the groups that I was in, Celebrate Recovery, and I worked with Hope Over Heroin and the Hurting Moms group, and he liked the fact that I kept pushing and kept helping and I've worked with the police and stuff, trying to get things changed and but so I kind of do it in his honor. I keep going because I know that's what he would want. And he would be the first one to tell you, get whatever help you can get. And for me, he would tell me to do whatever I could do. So.
Because it hurt him that it was hurting you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I know, this is like a hard conversation. You and I talked about the other day when we were talking about how, we know there's a lot of moms out there, and this is our biggest fear. I remember that coming to the point with my child where I thought, why am I so scared all the time? What am I so anxious about? Why am I going to bed with this dread and waking up with dread? And I finally realized it's because I'm afraid she's going to die. I'm afraid I'm going to lose her. And then I had to take it a step further and say, okay, so if that happened, it's almost like I had to face it in my mind.
Yes.
And if that happened, would I be okay? would I be able to exist? And I decided that because I have a faith, because I trust God, that he would get me through it. And you've shared so much with me about how God is sustaining you through this. You talk about that a little bit, about the people that he's brought, just through other people, through so many things that he's uplifted you through this process.
Well, it's like I told you before. It's we grieve differently than most people grieve. At least with my faith, the Bible tells you in Thessalonians that we grieve with hope. The hope that I haven't really lost him. I know exactly where he's at. And so I know that he's safe. I know that he's being taken care of. I know that he's healthy and whole now. It's different when you have your faith to rely on.
Yeah. For sure. I often wonder, even with being a hurting mom, even without losing a child, the pain that we have. And Chris just says, moms need other moms, no judgment, no blame. And
Right.
That's so true. And Tess says, for 10 years, all she's been feeling like she's been living just to try to keep her daughter alive, help her daughter to live. I mean, it's like we lose ourselves in this. And but when we remember the hope that we have, even whether it's a hurting mom or whether you're a grieving mom and have lost a child, our hope is in Christ. And if we turn to him, we can experience peace and joy again somehow.
And that's the beauty of being in the Hurting Moms group. When I was going through it, it gave me before I lost my son, it gave me a support that I knew was always there for me. I could go on. We have private little Facebook pages that we would go on and keep in touch with each other during the week even. And I do that with my own groups so that we can post prayer requests. We can talk to each other, keep up with each other. And you learn week after week from getting together with moms in the groups. There's a bond that forms that's unlike any other, to where you just depend on each other. And you're joined at the heart.
Yep.
You know, and it's
it, right? We don't feel like anybody else really understands this pain. Karen has just shared on here that her 24-year-old son took his life on the 7th of this month. Mm-hmm. So he was the reason she joined Hurting Moms. And I mean, hopefully the community of Hurting Moms, the people that we've met through this program, can help sustain us during this. I do think there's something about the prayer aspect of it, knowing there's other people praying for us when sometimes we may not even be able to pray for ourselves.
Right.
You and I were talking the other day about how we feel those prayers. You can feel it when others are praying.
It's very tangible. Yes.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing, honestly. I'm so, Lisa said I had lost so much of myself prior to getting in a group. I love hearing these comments about the groups. I mean, Sharon and I've talked about, and you hear me talk about it almost every week, being in these Hurting Moms Breaking Free support groups is where the real healing takes place. And my guess is, Sharon, that even being in the group, I mean, nothing can prepare you for the loss of your child, but the fact that you have that support system in place already, the community, I think the community aspect of it is so critically important. And those of us that are hurting and heartbroken over our children, or a lot of us, I see Donna saying she hasn't seen her daughter for a year. A lot of us have estranged kids. It's so painful, so absolutely painful. But when you know there's other people that get it, there's something about that, or being able to share about it. Don't you think, when you can talk about it in a safe place where you're not being judged, right, where you're understood, it helps so much.
you can be very, very vulnerable with the moms that you're in the group with, and you can say anything. You can tell each other and open up to the darkest secrets, and nobody's going to say anything to you. Nobody's going to look down on you, because 9 times out of 10, they're all feeling the same exact way.
Yeah. And as you start to realize that, it gets easier and easier to share. You know, I see with the number of women that are talking about losing a child and having you in here, I do want to throw out there and let you all know, we have a sister group. There's a group, my dear friend, Jackie Van Workum, who lost her son a couple years ago, has started a group called Grieving Moms. And it's a lot like Hurting Moms as far as the format of the groups. It's a 12-week group, and she has a Facebook page, and she goes live like this every Tuesday night at 6:00 Pacific time. And so I just want to throw that out there and let you know she has a website. It's grievingmoms.com. And so I just want to let any of you who have lost children, because that's its own special thing in itself, to feel free to check that out. Check out the Grieving Moms. So it's really, I think it's really just like with Hurting Moms, right? It's the same, being able to be in with other moms that know that pain.
Mm-hmm.
So Sharon, you told me you're on week 7, is it, of your group?
Yes. So it's wonderful. I mean, we're getting a little bit sad because we see we're coming up towards the end. And it's like, if you've been through Hurting Moms, most people, you start out your first week, everybody just kind of gets to know each other, and it seems a little bit strange and that. But by the 5th week, I would say you notice changes in everybody. Because of the bonds that are formed, you can see the growth in each and every one that's in there.
They start smiling. All the leaders say, with the first few weeks, of course, there's a lot of tears. We come in, and if there's something, it's such a relief. I got to stop real quick and tell you that Lisa says you're a wonderful leader. Your faith is unshakable.
She's in my group now, so
she's thankful for you and inspired by you. So, but it's good to know. But anyway, yeah. So now that made me forget what I was talking about. Oh, we were talking about how the groups, how they come in and they're crying. In the first few weeks, everybody's crying, and it's difficult. Although healing, to be like Sue says, sharing is healing to be able to talk about it. But somehow before it's over, like you said, around week 5, we start lightening up. You'll pretty soon there's laughter and smiles, and even when we share hard things, we're able to kind of get through it easier. And I think part of it is that by then we've learned to trust each other. There's a trust that's built, but also the process that we go through takes us from point A down to point B. I mean, you're able to walk through a process that actually gives you tools that you need. When you're a hurting mom and you feel like you've exhausted everything, I can remember I didn't know where to turn. I kept wanting someone to help me, and I didn't know what to do. But when I started learning about these tools that I've shared with you in the group, it's tools to help us for healing, help us be able to lose that knot that we have in our stomach all the time, to lose just the anxiety and the fear and all those negative emotions that we wrestle with all the time. So those of you who haven't been in a group, please, please, please consider joining a group. Chris says, no, she said it's kind of sad when they're in jail. We know they're safe. And that's true. It's like, when they're off the street, we have a better, I don't know, we might get a good night's sleep, right?
Yeah, but there's other worries that go along with it. I mean, there's, you worry about their safety in there. There are drugs that even flow around in jails. So it's tough. you never really rest easy, even if they are in jail. I mean, they're not in the home per se, but it's a different kind of worry.
It is. It is. I mean, that it just goes with the territory, right? We're moms.
Yep.
And it just goes, we worry. And so, and I think, we've talked about before, this is not something that we signed up for, nothing that we ever imagined.
No.
We never imagined being in this situation of being a hurting mom, much less a grieving mom. We don't expect to outlive our children.
No.
And so, but at least this is giving us some tools. It's giving us an opportunity to be able to find healing, because there is healing. Our tendency is to isolate. We just want to stay in our room or stay in our house. We don't want to face people. We feel ashamed. We feel guilty. We just don't want to go out. But if we just start learning how to share about it, and this is the place to start, it really does take a lot of the power out of it.
Well, you feel, when you're a hurting mom, you feel very alone, very isolated. And I always sat back and wondered, I said it would be great if somebody could just hold your hand and walk you through the process. And I think hurting moms is about as close to somebody coming alongside you and holding your hand and walking you through. You learn the tools to be able to walk that walk. It's not easy, but you find out you're not the only one out there. You're not alone, and you have support, and that's the beauty of it.
And I think you start realizing, I mean, I finally got to the point where I faced and recognized and repented for my parts and things. I had put my kids through stuff that they probably shouldn't have had to go through. I had my own brokenness, but then you move on. You can't keep holding on to that. You can't keep holding on to guilt. I remember telling my daughter, because she liked for a long time to throw things up at me. And I'd say, that was then and this is now. And I can't go back and change anything about your childhood. I can't fix anything, but I can be the best mom I know how to be to you today as an adult. And she's an adult today. And that's what I'm striving to do. But I also was able to tell her, from this moment on, I'm not taking responsibility for your actions. You're an adult. You're making your own decisions. And, if I made mistakes, I'm sorry, but I can't fix anything now. So you need to figure out how you're going to live your own life. Right. And that's a huge freeing thing for me to be able to do. It really took away the guilt, and she stopped throwing things up at me.
Well, everybody's got a choice as to how we handle what life deals us. And it's the same with our kids.
Yeah. Cheryl says she's offering some hope. Her son was an addict. He was in prison for 2 years. He got out, went back to drugs, but he's clean now for almost a year. And he's working and volunteering at a homeless shelter. So she says, I was that hurt mom, but there is hope.
Yes, there is. There's always hope.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, in our hope, like you and I were talking earlier, our hope, it's not in our kids. Our hope can't be, oh, I hope he turns around. I hope, our hope can't be in what our kid is doing or not doing. Our hope has to be in the Lord. Right. It has to be in Jesus and knowing what he can and will do. Once we just have to surrender. We have to just surrender the whole thing. Lisa says she listens to my audio every morning on the web. That's a lot of listening. So speaking of that, thank you, Lisa. I hope it is encouraging to you. There is a link above the video, or there will be, to my book. Most of you know I wrote my story. I keep talking about different parts of my story, and the whole story is in this book. It starts in my childhood and goes all the way through everything, all my life, up to and past being a hurting mom, and then how the Hurting Moms ministry started. So if you're interested in knowing more about the gory details of my story, my book is called The Story of a Hurting Mom. And you can click on the link and Oh,
Yep.
she has it right there. So that's a funny story right there.
Yeah.
I asked her when we were meeting the other day, I said, did you read my book? And she said, no, I haven't read it yet. I have it, but I didn't read it yet. And today she said, you know what? I found your book and I was looking through it and I did read it. She showed me it's all highlighted and everything.
Yeah, I did. I highlighted. But it's like I had said before, and see, there's my proof. It's all highlighted. But when you're in grief mode, it's like I had said before, there are sometimes 75% of the time, I would say you're kind of living your life in a fog.
Yeah.
So since that happened with my son just in November, it's like, and I had read this book when I had first joined Hurting Moms. So it's like it just kind of went right over my head. So but that's why I went back and I got the book and I went, oh yeah, I did read it. And I'm thumbing through and I'm looking through what I highlighted. And I remembered it as I was looking through what I had highlighted. So it's a wonderful book. It's a good guideline in there with a lot of good advice and truth telling as to how you got through.
Yeah, it's and really, you talk about Celebrate Recovery. I've been part of Celebrate Recovery for like 14 years, and it's really through that whole process of learning to just be real and transparent and open. And I don't have any secrets. Sue says she's living the story in my book. She's living my. I've heard that from a lot of people because I think there's a lot of commonality, right? There's a lot of things that we experience as hurting moms that we all experience.
Yes.
And so she said that, and yeah, that she's so good. Well, thank you. Those of you who are writing that you read the book, that makes me feel happy. Shelly Andrews says, I need to order the book. Yes, order it. The reason that I wrote it actually was I really wanted it to be an encouragement. I want to be able to encourage moms that maybe, haven't jumped into a group, but that would understand that they're not alone. And I think a lot of the things, like I said, that I talk about are things that we feel, but maybe we don't express. And it helps people to know they're not alone. So, so I'm, that thing that you were talking about the brain fog, or the brain, is that what you call it? Yeah, the fog.
Fog, yeah.
Yeah. My friend Jackie, who wrote Grieving Mom, she talks about that as well. I've heard her and moms that are on her show talk about that when you're grieving, when you've lost someone and you're in the middle of that grief, you just, you can do things and say things that you may not remember later.
Right.
And so, but that's why I think that's another reason, don't you, that it's so important to like be in community, to have people that gather around you that can help you through those times, that can help you remember what you said, what you did. I mean,
it's just the prayer in itself and knowing that someone is there, that someone has your back and they're praying for you. Like we had talked about before, the tangible feeling of people praying for you, and that's how you get through.
Yeah. It is, and you can feel that. You do feel that. I had a time when one of my daughters was really sick, deathly ill, on life support. She made it through, but during that time, there were times I knew God was with me, and I never lost my faith, but I had a hard time praying myself. I had a hard time putting it into words, but there were so many people praying, and I just felt it. I just, you're so right about that. It's like a tangible thing. And that's like, again, another reason that we need each other, that we need this community.
Right.
So I am so grateful that you're willing to come on here and share, and that you're still a leader with Hurting Moms and making a difference. It's so, I don't know. It's really, really encouraging to me, and I know to a lot of moms. So thank you for being willing to share with us, Sharon. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Do you have any last words before we go? I told you the time was going to go fast.
Yeah, it does.
The time goes really fast.
Yeah, it's just I would encourage anybody that is thinking about getting involved in Hurting Moms to take that step of faith and just leap in. You'll never be sorry. You'll be so glad you joined. Like I said, you get a bond of friendship going. You've got people that will take your hand and walk you through the whole process. And you'll find out you're not alone. You'll get all the encouragement, all the unjudgmental
Yeah.
support and that you could ever possibly need.
Yeah, it's a wonderful experience. Just in closing, Tess says, big time brain fog. Thought I was the only one. So even though see how important Kenna says, I did too, Tess. So even just these little things, little snippets that we grab hold of from each other, that can make such a difference. So hey, moms, I just love you all. I think about you. I pray for you every day. I look forward to being out here on Thursdays. I'll be back next Thursday. And so I pray that you'll have a good week. Sign up for a group. Don't hesitate. Just do it. Just jump in. Don't be afraid. Just do it. You will not be sorry. I've never talked to anybody who joined a group that said they wish they hadn't been in a group. Right. It's all been good. So have a good week, and I'll see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.